What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Here for the Truth. I'm Joel Rafidi. Got my co-host Yerasimos with me as always. Today, we have the return of Sarah DeHaven, evolutionary astrologer, and a personal guide, effective personal guide to many. We've had, I think, maybe 3 previous episodes with her. People get a lot of value out of them, and we're super stoked to have her back and have this conversation. Right before we bring Sarah on, I just want to mention it's here. I know I've spoken about it a little bit throughout the past number of months, but my first full-length album in the decade, Scorpios, the conscious hip-hop album, is now available. It's live and it's streaming everywhere. The initial feedback has been amazing. So really, really appreciate you guys listening and sharing your thoughts and feelings around it as well. And now for you guys, our podcast listeners, check it out. Check it out. Let me know what you think. I'm really stoked to put this out there and to have you guys digest it. 13 tracks for your eardrums, available now. And right before we dive into the conversation with Sarah, I'm going to play you guys the video clip for the first track on the album, Legacy, so you can hear the song. If you're watching this, you can watch the video clip as well. So please enjoy.
Years feel like 70. From 2015 till presently, I've been shattering familiarity. My identity morphs, crawling out from the skin of my corpse. All the ex-me's that I divorced. This empathy grows without remorse. Pause. What's the point of existence? Don't know, but I'm persistent. Each minute, each brand new instance. Break these chains, I build new systems. In it for the long haul, going the distance. I bring about my own deliverance. Every day reborn, call it Christmas. My own trail of crumbs and biscuits. I'm coming down a chimney, coughing up all that dust within me. We got a problem, Houston, Whitney, mind control. Okay, Disney, fish out of water, check my kidney. Cross that border, Mexico from Sydney. But all my charges, fuck your litany. Can't be handled, not your Britney. Spearhead in the case, can't catch me, I'm on the chase. This legacy can't be erased, this path I walk can't be retraced. Bloodline done been displaced, stared evil in the face. Integrated and embraced, illegal interface. I'm making friends with these voices in my head. I bring them home, serve them tea and cut them bread. Check every corner, every closet, every bed. I wanna see it all, I want nothing left unsaid. This is my time, this is my moment, this is my place. I seize it all as I stare Caesar in his face. I make Caesar salad with these chickens in this race. Like an iceberg, let us freeze their whole estate. I've seen empires crumble, seen emperors stumble. I've seen mountains cracked by the weight of a dumbbell. Nobody infallible, rich the rational. Your mind is the capital, compounded and stackable. Your life is the fuel, your potential is flammable. Spearhead in the case, can't catch me, I'm on the chase. This legacy can't be erased, this path I walk can't be retraced. Bloodline done been displaced, stared evil in the face. Integrated and embraced, illegal interface. I'm making friends with these voices in my head. I bring them home, serve them tea and cut them bread. Check every corner, every closet, every bed. I wanna see it all, I want nothing left unsaid. Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way which leads to destruction. And there are many who go in by it, because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life. There are few who find it.
You are now listening to the Here for the Truth podcast, hosted by Joel Rafidi and Yerasimos.
Yeah. That was the first track from my new album, Scorpio. That song's called Legacy. That video clip's going to be now available by the time you're listening to this. The full album's streaming everywhere. And guys, we got Sarah DeHaven with us. Sarah, welcome.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Hey, I just want to say, like, as I'm listening to it, of course, my autism, I'm always looking at the math, right? Looking at the transits. I'm just like, yeah, fuck. Like every fucking lyric in that song is so apt to what's happening right now. Even the making friends with the voices in my head, fuck's sakes. Like, it's all there.
It's so wild, just like the connection between our own psychology, what's happening in the weather, then the timing, the timing of when things come to fruition and come out as well. Thanks. I mean, I appreciate, the recognition that, that is in sync for sure. And yeah, I'm excited to do what I do and to be able to put something like this out at this time and this juncture for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love the track, man. I love the whole album. I'm excited for people to listen to it and to keep listening to it. Like I said last night during the listening party, I just feel like it's the gift that keeps on giving. And especially when you really tune into the lyrics and like keep catching new things each time. And then also like when you think about conscious hip hop, how does it relate to your life? And like, how do you get inspired from it? Like, I feel like I listen to your songs and I'm really inspired and it really hits me in a way. And then like to have a couple songs like that bring tears to my eyes. I mean, like when you listen to hip hop, that brings fucking tears to your eyes in the modern.
It's a first for me.
So
yeah.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, last night was heaps fun at the listening party. It's just so good to finally put it out there and like to get out of my little isolation bubble and to share that with people and for people to be like, yeah, and just confirm what I think, which is that it's dope, So yeah, that was good.
Well, I know obviously we're gonna get into weather, but I just want to ask you this, man, like what have you noticed in your own growth through this process? I mean, you haven't released a full-length album in how long?
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Like what's shifted and changed, in you? I mean, it's noticeable in your music. I mean, I dig your previous music, but I just feel like this album is like a whole nother level.
Yeah, of course, man. So you're asking how I've changed since the last release, or?
Well, I just mean like what feels different in you and in your process and going about creating an album.
The motivation feels very different. I think 10 years ago for me, the motivation was more so driven by approval and by probably my creative process was fueled by what I might have thought the audience wanted. Whereas I think this time around, I didn't think about the audience as much in my creative process. And I just kind of made what I wanted to hear. And obviously, man, I've matured so much in the last, obviously 3-4 years, but the last decade, if we want to take that into account. And so I think, I've become so much more real. I feel like I've become more authentic. I've become more grounded. I've become clearer about who I am. I've become clearer about what I stand for and my own personal philosophy. And so, and my relationships and all my experiences. And I was able just to kind of use all of that as fuel for this creative process. And the fuel is one part of it. But then, I think what I'm really most proud of is the follow through, and bringing something to completion and then being able to properly package it, really get things to the point that I wanted them to be at. There's no elements on this album where I feel like I settled, because there were so many times where there was little things that didn't feel right. Some of the tracks went through 9 or 10 mixes to get to where they are, between me and David. And yeah, I mean, all of the above, man, and here we are.
It's amazing, man. And again, it's just a testament to like being inspired, having an idea, and then the most important piece, taking action.
Executing.
I mean, how many people, and I can even think of in my life, where it's like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. And it's like fucking 15 years later. And like people have like certain equipment that they bought to make music, just fucking collecting dust on their fucking desk, So.
And it's crazy when that inspiration is honored, how much it can shift your reality as well. Because I don't know if you remember, but like, I bought a new computer just before I started this process because I was like, I don't have the right gear to be able to pull this off, And previously, for my previous work, I was doing recording studios, and I was like, I don't have the bandwidth or the energy or the time, affluence to go to a recording studio to make this. So I got a new mic as well, to be able to record at home. So I made things in my reality practical for this thing to be able to come to fruition as well, So it's like, to me, that inspiration, that's God talking to me. Like, what else is that, if not something divine that I need to pay attention to? And so for me, I consider that with the most sacredness, with the most reverence. And I pull that thread and, you see what's on the other side. And here we are.
Epic.
Yeah. Thank you. Sarah.
All right, Sarah.
Yeah. Here she is.
What's happening? What's going on? How are you? What's going on in the weather? Tell us everything.
Oh, wow. Okay. Everything. I don't even know if I can do that. Literally. No, I'm really glad that you released the album when you did, Joel. I just want to say, like, first off, and this is weather related, because as I've been looking at the weather and as I've been observing people, as I like to do, and concurrently as I examine the trends, it's just wonderful to see an example of a positive execution of what's happening with these energies, because it's really tough out there right now. And people are struggling in a lot of ways because they don't necessarily believe in themselves, not just to not execute, but to complete, right? To go to the finish line with their work. And so I just want to acknowledge that, because this is what this is about, is listening to the cues of spirit, which we inherently have access to. It's our nature to know what nature is saying, how nature is dictating and nudging us as far as what to do and where to go in practical ways, right? So buying a mic, upgrading your computer, we can take steps, right? Practical steps to better our situation. We don't have to do it all at once. We just take it a chunk at a time, show up every day, and do just a little something. Just a little something. And if you're inspired to do a lot of something, cool, that's cool too. That makes up for the days where you don't feel like doing anything, so that you can kind of just keep the momentum going, right? Like, that's what's like Uranus and Taurus retrograde right now. So to translate that to English, Uranus is the primal mind. Some call it the unconscious, but essentially it's the survival, Uranus and Taurus specifically, the survival somatic response, the primal self. It's what avoids displeasure and chases pleasure, because it's very, if you look at even like insects, it's this impulse, right? But it's tied into our memory on a DNA level, and also throughout the course of our life, of when it's safe and when it's not safe, when our lives can feel threatened. And so when that's coded down into the primal mind is not, we're not conscious of it, right? That's why they call it the unconscious. So when you got that wiring going on, people will act in ways that can actually hold them back from finding the true comfort and homeostasis and peace of mind and body that they really want. So it's a tough one for humans right now. We're being asked to really step up and take ownership over ourselves, to become our own authority, and to see that is actually how we would make ourselves the most happy, is to take that responsibility on, to see that no one else can do it except us, right? And that I'm not trying to make light of it. It can be really tough, especially depending on certain situations that have happened in a person's life, or conditioning factors that might not have encouraged self-love and self-belief and self-worth, But we're at a point in time too where there's more information than ever that is showing us that the only ones we can really trust at the end of the day to get us across that line, to get where it is our soul wants to be, is us. So I could talk more about it, but I want to leave it there for now.
Yeah. I'm curious, is this like, obviously what you're saying, I feel like feels like also general overarching advice on how to live a fulfilling and honorable life, but like, but what specific is that making that more present, and where is that like, and how long is this going to be even more present, like in the weather?
I genuinely, okay, so we're at the end of Capricorn Pluto, like Pluto and Capricorn. It ends, I always forget what day. I'm fucking sorry.
It's like November 18th or November 19th.
It's something like that. I'm literally checking right now. Sorry.
And how long has it been in Capricorn for, Pluto?
Since like 2008. So around that whole like market crash situation. Yeah, it's like November 19th, 20th. as you said, it was around there. So this is a big deal because this doesn't happen every day. Pluto only goes into Capricorn like every 248, 250 years. The last time that's happened was around the Declaration of Independence in 1776 when Capricorn was about 27 degrees. Pluto was at Capricorn 27 degrees. So like the whole COVID situation, what led up into that, it's interesting to see the ripple effect in the present of what was happening way back in the past, this fight for independence, right? It wasn't everybody who was fighting for independence. It was a handful of people who saw where things were leading. You know what I mean? So this is important to be aware of, that the consensus, like in the weather right now, the way the consensus is set up now, I got to double check my notes to make sure I actually cover this properly. So I'm just going to read what I wrote and then we can extrapolate if necessary. So Pluto is the collective and individual soul desire, right? So we're going to see that soul desire on an individual level aggregated into the collective, right? So the Pluto in Capricorn at the 29th degree, it's an extreme end of a cycle where we are wanting more autonomy, more control, more structure, more authority. But some don't want to respect the autonomy of the self or the individual. They want to have authority over others, right? So what I wrote was, now this can make sense, right? Having authority over others. If you're a parent or a guardian, a leader or a boss, and you need to use your wisdom and discernment to choose what is best for those you're responsible for. But when you're attempting to control people in a way that is necrophilous, that's when it starts becoming evil. So this is kind of where we're at right now, where in a sense, it's like, who's going to be the dad? Who's going to be the boss in our life? But we also see the collective where they're at. They're not ready for that. They're not ready to accept ownership over their lives in a lot of ways because of how, well, there's a lot of factors I could get into. I'm going to avoid that. It's speculation on all of that. We don't really need to go into that. But essentially what's happening, though, is we're at that point with Pluto and Capricorn at the end. So this is like a huge karmic ending of just seeing where we're at, realizing, are we really walking our talk? Are we really being who we are? Are we being sincere? And like there's multiple. So Mars and Pluto are going to oppose. November, what did I got here? November 3rd. Then Mars is going to retrograde and hit back on Pluto January 3rd. And then one last time when it goes direct, it's going to oppose Pluto one more time, April 26th of next year. So this whole theme with Mars opposing Pluto, Mars is how we instinctively act, right? It's how we take instinctive action. It's the masculine faculty, so it's protective, it's aggressive. It's get what you want energy, right? But it's in Cancer. And that means that its actions are going to be more motivated by emotions. Now, given what I mentioned about Uranus being the unconscious and connecting to the soma and the primal responses right now, this shows that where we're at right now, it's so valuable for us to have emotional and somatic intelligence, because then when we catch our Mars wanting to take an action that's more unconscious, that could be less productive, that could cause an explosion or a fight, because Mars-Pluto is very contentious energy, right? We can catch it and we can make better choices. But this energy is all about, Capricorn Cancer is about patriotism, identity, our group, our family, our bloodline. And so there's, it's like our team. And so people can identify with groups in such a way where if they're taking action that is habitual, unconscious, right? It's less about being an integrity and more about being a tool. And that's sort of what's showing up right now, is being mindful of this so that we can find where maybe we're doing this to some extent, so that we can get closer and closer into awareness of that sweet spot that's us, so that we're more in charge. Does that answer your question, Yerasimos? I might have gone way off the reservation there.
No, it does. It does answer it. I mean, you were just going into detail. And even I just like how you even talked about, the last time I was at Pluto and Capricorn, you were saying during independence, it's like, what does each one of us need to do in our lives? Declare independence from the forces that want to impose control on us, whatever that is. And even things from our past that have kind of strangled our evolution and us stepping more into, who we're meant to be in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt, with Pluto now being in the final degrees of Capricorn, where it kind of has been, I guess, last 5 or 6 years, it's definitely felt like a continuous major rite of passage in self-responsibility, kind of like you've been saying. And now, I feel like for those that have been paying attention and have been living authentically and have been paying, have been honoring, I guess, their deeper self, their true self, what can they expect to shift as Pluto moves into Aquarius next month, where I think it's going to be for like 40 odd years or something, right?
Yeah, it's until like 2040 something. Very early 40s, 2040s. Yeah. So that's what this is about, right? We had a little dip of Pluto in Aquarius last year, around spring of last year, and then it went back into Capricorn. So we had a little taste last year, but really what this is this is why I say things like walking our talk and integrity is so important with Capricorn. But another thing is being grounded in the practical reality of the situation. We don't like living in unicorn land where we're ascending to 33D. I mean, I know Yerasimos knows all about this, so maybe I shouldn't be talking when we got the master here, right? Like,
So inside joke for those of you listening, inside joke.
Silly. I'm sorry.
I love it.
To try to get serious.
Don't downplay yourself for the public, bro.
Yeah. Also, real quickly, again, our table number at dinner last night was 33. It just keeps showing up. I can't help myself.
I don't know what it is. It's almost like it's fate or something. Yeah. So with this though, in preparation, it's like, okay, can you get real about the reality we're dealing with here? A lot of people who are freedom-minded and liberty-minded, there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes it can either go too black pill or too white pill. It's like trying to find a grounded center of, okay, this is where we're at. This is the lay of the land. These are the people I'm dealing with. These are the challenges I'm facing. With that practical awareness, in addition to the sensitivity that comes with the Pluto and Capricorn of knowing what you're responsible for to be the real you, right? We come into contact with that very keenly with Pluto and Capricorn. That prepares us for the rebel stage, the Aquarius stage, where it's more about breaking off and being that individual, the individuation process where we need to be a party of one very often and not be a part of the crowd if we truly want to individuate. But if we're running unconsciously, because Aquarius energy is unconscious and we're not aware of the reality, it can be a shit show, right? That can cause all sorts of problems, traumas, explosive situations that are just not desirable. And yet, nature is always trying to help us get on track. So it is leading us to that, but we can mitigate risk if we are realistic, right? So this Pluto and Capricorn was helping us with that. I mean, if you look at even the whole COVID situation, the fallout from that, we've learned a lot about, like a lot of freedom-minded people, as I mentioned, there can be this idealism of what is possible. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but we got some reality checks that are helping us calibrate, right? So that's kind of what I feel this is preparing us for.
Yeah. It kind of, so this experience with Pluto and Capricorn, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of been like a training ground. It feels like the circumstances and the conditions have been extra heavy for us to kind of build muscle if I can use that kind of metaphor. And then as it moves into Aquarius, it's going to be like, okay, there's more free reign. Let's see what you learned in the fucking real world. You're now out of the simulation. The chains have kind of been loosened a bit. And let's see how everything that you developed now applies when you actually have control.
I actually love that you use the muscle building analogy because Capricorn and Saturn correlate with gravity, right? So if you're training under
that's exactly what I was thinking. Like you're training like a super heavy pressurized kind of chamber. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. It helps you be stronger. And then when the energy lightens a bit, it's like, whoa,
yes,
I'm so fucking strong right now. Like way stronger than I thought. Holy shit. So this is also teaching us what we're capable of, Pluto and Capricorn. Yeah. Right. It's like, wow, like you actually can do a lot more than you might have thought before. Look at what you've proven. Like you've proven it. Like it's all about looking back at the road you've traveled. Sometimes it can be really easy for us to forget all of our accomplishments. Because Capricorn is very focused on the goal too. So that's another thing. It's like, don't forget all of your wins. Like losses can be wins too. It's all about, did it help you to become more wise? Did it help you to see more clearly so that you could be more successful? Right. So yeah. Yeah. I love that analogy of the weight, working the weights and building muscle.
As we say often, you're either winning
Are you learning?
or you're learning.
Well,
Exactly.
for the conscious person, you're either winning or you're learning, right?
Yeah. For someone who like, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not taking the fruit from your lessons, shit, man, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
But that's one of the things. Oh, sorry, Yerasimos, sorry.
No, I was just gonna, follow that up with saying, yeah.
How
like,
dare
if
you
someone-
interrupt the ascended master?
if you I'll deal with you later after the call.
In the spirit realm.
I don't even know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, yeah, for someone who is on this journey of like self-reflection and contemplation and really cares and like about the things they go through and why they go through and why they do the things that they do. Like when shit happens, quote unquote, shit happens in their life, they're curious about it and they go, well, what can I take from this? What can I learn from this? Now, I'm not saying again, we go immediately into that, like, oh, it happens for a reason. And what am I learning? Like you have to go through the process, feel the feelings, etc. But there's enough space. There's like this part of you that's just like, okay, this is happening for some reason. Why is it happening? And let me go in for the gold and see how it can further my growth as an individual.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. In evolutionary astrology, you actually look at the polarity points of Pluto to get balance. Like, how do we balance this desire? Because it can be tough to wrangle if we don't see both sides of the coin, right? So the polarity point is in Cancer, and that is all about, let's go in there and feel that. But let's be tender and kind to ourselves and patient, not expect much. Capricorn can expect a lot because it knows what needs to get done. And it's like, just fucking get to work. But it's so focused on that. It's wintertime, right? Like the water's frozen. So it's not, it could be cold, right? So we want to go into that warm summer Cancer energy, like Northern Hemisphere, right? Warm Cancer summer energy and feel that, be patient with it, kind of even in a sense, sort of like bask and hold it, right? Don't enable it as such, like to just run around, like having your kids run the house, so to speak, right? You still want the authority, the father parental figure, that Capricorn energy to hold the space, hold the structure. But the Cancer energy is the loving nurturing that is needed to know that you matter, that you're important, that you have a right to feel. And even if it hurts, it's okay. It's okay. I still love you. These are things that we need to know, that we're still loved, even when we perceptively fail. And so like, that can be tough for some people. I know in the past for me, it was when you don't know that and you're in a lot of grief, it can be hard to see, because if you think of water, it's like you're drowning in the ocean. So how do I even know that there's air to breathe? So some people can get suffocated, and that's a Cancer word too. Yeah. Suffocated by the water of their emotions and the intensity of that feeling. Cancer is primal. It's the primal. It doesn't have a voice. It's the child. It's the primal, right? So it doesn't know how to say what it needs to say. It just needs to know it's understood and held. Yeah. So to me, it's like
easy to fester.
Oh yeah, that can happen. I mean, if you go into the fixed territory, especially considering like fixed Scorpio/Pluto, yeah, then stagnation can happen, rot, putrefaction, malignancies, necrophilus type shit. So I'm just bringing this up because that polar opposite to Pluto right now, and then there's other factors with the Mars opposition. Lucifer's in a very tight obsessive angle with Pluto right now, and other few factors that the strong emotions that some people may be feeling, they may not necessarily know how to reconcile that, because there can be so much attached to it, like you're this, you're that, and then they start identifying with feelings that are actually more like phantasms. Yeah. So it's like people who are brave enough to go into those spaces may not realize just what a contribution they're making, not just for themselves, but for everybody, because that wisdom, it promotes a level of compassion that comes from, I've been there, I've lived it. Yeah. So I just want to say the last thing, just for everybody who's listening to this, who does this work, just know that like, what you're doing is hugely important. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to add to that too. And there's so much overlap too. And I think this is why it's really important when you look at things, even from like a parts work perspective. Do you have the education on the nature of the psyche? You know, even with human design and understanding the emotional center and how that plays out. You know, like, sure, you could be drowning, you know, but is there even like a crack of understanding? Like, I'm in this place. I'm not going to be here forever. You know, there are other aspects to me. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like when you have a more holistic understanding and a holistic education around certain things, and even the nervous system piece, like, you know, like, do you even understand what's going on in your body? You know, do you understand the states that you're in? Do you have the education on what's going on? Like, all this stuff, I think, supports a person that, like, if they are overtaken by someone or they're in that something, or they're in that state, like, maybe there's just a little glimmer of like understanding or hope, you know? And this is why these are a lot of things what we want to touch on. We touch on and we focus even in our group coaching program, Rise Above the Herd, you know, touching on these different elements that can support a person during these times. And I can only speak from my personal experience. Like, as I got more into human design or even understanding elements of my astrology, and it's like, man, I'd be in a deep, dark hole, but like just some little voice is like, this will pass, you know? And like, and then to have the capacity to be in it without, let me go turn to the porn or the food or the drugs. It's like, no, I don't need to like resist this. I can just be with it and allow it to be. But, you know, I think it takes some work to get there. You know, it's not just gonna happen overnight. If you know, you had a horrific childhood and your attachment styles aren't ideal, you know what I mean?
That really speaks to the importance of the theoretical, I think, because with the theoretical, at least now you have a framework for what is happening within your own physiology or within your own direct experience, you know? And that's where, you know, the self-responsibility that Capricorn brings is going to lead you towards going to seek out theoretical knowledge, you know, so then I can actually have some understanding within my psyche of how to deal with my life.
Yeah, I mean, I even think about when 15 years ago, I went to the Peruvian jungle and I experimented with ayahuasca, you know, like it wasn't as popular back then and I did it. But like, I think having a certain level of understanding of what's going on in the understanding parts and archetypes, like it allowed me to kind of be in that experience and process that experience in a whole different way, as if I didn't. And it was just like, maybe, I don't know, just I've heard horror stories. So I'm grateful that like I explored things from a conceptual standpoint and an experiential standpoint of, let's say, doing parts work for years. So then I can go, okay, well, this part's coming out or that part isn't there. Oh, where's this coming from? You know what I mean? And so I will always be an advocate of education, of like learning about this stuff. So then when you're faced with certain things in your life, there's a way to, you see it through a certain lens.
Yeah. And there's so many avenues that a person can take to learn these things. So it's not like they have to do anything one other person is doing that that have had success. Like that's one of the things in this weather too, is a lot is being dissolved so that we're not placing reliance on authorities that, well, they may be intelligent and well-meaning and wise, their message and their ways may not be for us. And so to find our way, there's a self-trust that's coming through this too, right? The Pluto in Aquarius, when it switches over, one of the correlations to Aquarius is like this hyper intelligence that is very much connected to the unconscious, right? So that unconscious does know a lot as far as where it's trying to get us to go. It's just when you try to integrate unconscious with the super ego, it can be kind of tough. So, you know, that can result in problems that could be seen as socially unacceptable, right? Like, for instance, studying astrology back in the day, let's just say you wouldn't be going around telling people you're doing that.
No,
you know what I mean?
Things have shifted and changed for sure. But even like we said before, like super ego, unconscious, like how many people even fucking know what those words mean?
Yeah,
you know, and how it relates to them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so yeah, at the end of the day, you got to figure out what works for you, whether you're drawn to astrology, whether you're drawn to just fucking going off the mountain and meditating and you have this capacity to really understand what's happening within you, whatever. There's some inner calling that's drawing you to something. We're in this world. We're out there. We're responding to stuff. Oh, I want to read this book. Oh, I want to take that class. You know, but again, how do you integrate it and apply it to your life? But
Yeah.
I think, the statement, knowledge is power, comes into play here. Applied knowledge is really being empowered. And how do people utilize that? Or do they remain in ignorance? And I'm not saying you could also go to the extreme of like, oh, I gotta get it, just stay in my head. And it's like, then I'm not really connecting to what's happening on an emotional level and a somatic level.
Right. And that's part of, even with the weather shear, like the asteroid Chiron speaks to our dual nature, because it's a centaur. Like the archetype is a man who's a centaur, but he wasn't like the other centaurs who were basically like savage and rapacious, He was refined, he was intelligent. Yeah, he lived in a cave by himself away from other people, but he was eloquent, articulate, he knew how to hunt, but he also knew how to interact with others. He trained many heroes, and we all have this archetype inside of us, this dual nature, where sometimes we can question ourselves and our own inherent intelligence in a lot of ways, So that's what where I was going, Yerasimos, earlier, is just, I think that there's a level of self-trust that I just see that if we found more value in that, we'd be led in a direction that leads us, like it puts us on the path, because the path is already there. We're already walking the path. It's just whether or not we see it, whether or not we see what's on it. And a lot of that process of knowing if we're calibrated onto our path, yes, it does. Like, I definitely want to agree. Like, we want to learn so that we can articulate what it is we know, like using terms like superego and unconscious. And yet at the same time, there is this nonverbal part of us that's just a knowing. And that part, personally, for me, I would love to see more people have trust that they have that faculty, because it is there. It's just, for a lot of people, we've been trained not to trust it because it's so anti-society, because it's not conforming energy.
Yeah,
it's natural.
And I think what we also need to highlight too is the individual nature, like how we are differentiated, in the sense that the access point may be different for some. Some people, like, getting that foundation of information and knowledge is like the good foundational point, and then let's see where it goes. Where other people, they may be more connected to this intuitive thing, and then, okay, maybe they get a book here and there. So it's unique to the person. At the end of the day, is like, are you honoring yourself? Are you trusting yourself? And are you making decisions where you're seeing the fruits of those decisions? Or are you just getting the same shit over and over again, the same patterns, and not knowing how to adjust and make new choices and decisions? Like, it's something I say all the time, the proof is in the pudding. At some point, like, your life needs to get closer towards the thing that you want it to be, that you've been dreaming about, that thing inside of you is like, oh, I want to do that. I want to play music. I want to start a business. I want to be in a conscious, healthy relationship. I want to be an amazing parent. Like, if years are going by and you're not getting closer to that, then something's off, and you need to make a shift or a change. Or whatever the thing you're listening to within yourself, like, maybe it's not coming from this true essence within you, and maybe it's still coming from, the superego or the voice of the mom or the dad or whoever, So,
yeah, brings to mind that New Testament quote, which actually closed that song that you heard earlier with Legacy. Narrow is the gate and difficult is the way, which leads to life. Yeah, it's difficult, but ultimately it leads to life, right? And, the thing is, you have to find it. You have to discover that gate by yourself, and there's a door that is uniquely yours, which you alone have to walk through.
Yeah.
It's not someone else's door. It's your door. It's got your name on it. And I think that was a big thing in my personal experience, is like, instead of constantly looking for like what's working for like other people, just turning the gaze within and discovering what is going to work for me.
Yeah. Like, if I listen, like, I'm grateful for my mom and my dad. I love them. But if I listen to them on how I should live my life, I wouldn't have the life that I have, and I wouldn't be who I am.
Right.
And I wouldn't be as happy and fulfilled and dynamic and just like whatever you see here, a lot of it is because of the decisions that I made that went against what society, what my mom and dad, what my friends would think. Sure, my essence is my essence. I get that. But like, you that door you have to go through, that narrow gate, like, you got to choose it when you have everyone else in your life going, no, walk through that fucking door. Look at that gate, that wide gate that's going to have everyone in society, in the crowd, like, slap you on the back and go, yeah, you're one of us. Don't stir the pot. Don't go against them. Oh, don't start a business. Don't travel around the world. What are you going to do? How are you going to survive? You know what I mean? Like,
it's intrinsically tied to the fear of death, right? Like, so it's like, if I don't live in the tribe anymore and the tribe doesn't love me anymore, I'm dead. And so that can be from starvation, like going way back in the past, but it can also be from the crowd turning on you and flaying you. You know what I mean? So that stuff's also coded. It's not just our parents' influence. It's a survival instinct that's coded into us to do what it takes to stay alive. And yet, if we think about it, that survival instinct, as we can see in the weather, is antiquated tech that is being uninstalled. But if we block that process, then we're holding on to the program that is holding us back. And that is a risk that a lot of people are facing right now, is, do we want to let go of what is dissolving and just let it naturally dissolve away the illusion of our collective insanity, so that we can see more clearly? Like, nature is trying, at least from what I can tell, life force is always trying to infuse us with, in a sense, yes, life, but also clarity, because that clarity brings us closer to life, you know? But yet it's a painful process. We got to feel stuff that is, some of it can feel beautiful, but we also, at the same time, it's like, the less we hold on to anything that isn't real, the better. It's a tough one, because, like I was saying, that antiquated tech, that survival-based antiquated tech, is antiquated based off the fact that we are human beings. We're at a level of consciousness as a species in our faculties where we have the potential to be more than beasts, and yet be beasts simultaneously, you know, to accept the whole, the dual nature. So, I mean, to me, it's like, I love seeing this weather, but yeah, I can see why. Well, I mean, okay, just as an example, the Internet Archive has been hacked like 3 times in the last couple weeks, right?
I haven't even heard that.
Yeah, so this is the only Internet Archive that had as much information. It was like 90 petabytes, which apparently is like 90,000 terabytes of information. Basically tried to keep an archive of the entire internet, and yet it's gone. They got some stuff back, but not everything is there. So some information is leaving us. And yet we would think logically, well, maybe we should hold on to all that archival information. We need to hold on to it. And there is, you know, a likelihood that this is a malignant force that is trying to remove this information off the internet. But my point is that we're seeing on the macrocosm, this Internet Archive breach, what we're seeing is it's something similar to what's happening inside of us. Things being taken away, like dissolved from our experience, emotions that are coming up with regard to things that we may need to be letting go of. And then we're being faced with, do we let go or do we cling? The feeling of, I still need this, you know? And so that's going to vary from person to person, but it is a theme overall, right? So
it's such an interesting theme in general, you know? And I think back to personal experiences I had. I remember, I think it was the summer of 2007 or 2008. I spent some time in Greece. Amazing experiences. I won't get into the details of them, but I bought a new camera before I went on this trip, and I took so many freaking pictures. And then the day after I got back, I was in between apartments in New York City, and I was going to go stay with my friend. I lived in Spanish Harlem on a 5th floor walk up, and he buzzes me in the building, and I walk up to the first step, and I see 3, you know, young dudes there, and I had a backpack and another bag I was holding, and I just had this like moment, and I just like looked at them and said, "What's up?" And I go to the next set of stairs, and they just come from behind and just fucking whack me in the fucking head, throw me onto, like, I'm landing on the stairwell, and they're just kicking me and punching me, reaching into my pockets. They took my new phone. They took my backpack that had my camera in it with all the pictures from Greece that I had, a whole bunch of other stuff. Luckily, I landed on my arm, so a watch that my eldest brother, who passed away in 2008, he gave me for my high school graduation. They didn't take that. And the funny part of it is I had a bag full of like all these expensive supplements, but they didn't take that, you know? Anyways, the reason I bring this up is that, like, you know, there was a period where I was like so fucking upset that this camera with all these pictures these experiences that like I just wouldn't have. And then I had this moment, I don't know when it was, when I went, those are inside me. I don't need a fucking digital photo that I may fucking look at once every 10 years. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it taught me a lesson on attachment, of like, whatever, who cares? You know, I'll get a new phone, I'll get another camera. These memories live within me. So I don't know, when you start talking about that, it just made me think of that. It's like, how, in what areas of your life are you holding on? And it's just like, what can you let go of?
Yeah, that's a huge theme with this transit we're dealing with. Because, okay, so that Pluto in Capricorn at 29 degrees, it's ruled by a Saturn in Pisces that is closing its cycle with Neptune, which is the archetype of the spirituality, the totality of reality, dissolving mirages and illusions. So like on one hand, we can feel this nostalgia, right? If we put that into combination with the Cancer energy that's at play for things that may be taken away from us. You know what I mean? That we don't have a control over because it might be an outside force that's taking it. And it can be painful. But yet at the same time, it's like you said, it's just like your experience, right? Like an outside force. This is totally what's shown up in the weather. But yet at the same time, it's like, did we really need it though? Did we really need it? You know, and maybe this experience, something about it can help us see how we're not, how clinging to something like that is not necessary anymore, and that it's time to say goodbye. You know,
A message to all you hoarders out there.
yeah.
If anyone comes across a camera with some photos from Greece with a very chiseled 30-year-old Yerasimos, please return.
Yeah. Definitely.
This was a part of my family photos.
At the peak of certain things, for sure.
Well, I just want to say though, that the hoarding, just bringing that up, I know that was a joke, but that's a thing. Like if you have shit you need to get rid of, like on a practical level, this is the time. This is the time to just lighten your load a bit, right? Like as within, so without. So if you got shit you've been holding on to and you're just like, why the fuck do I have all these boxes in my closet? I'm literally talking about myself.
Yeah.
I need to throw these away.
Yeah. Also, eat the food you have in your freezer before you just keep buying new stuff and just putting it deeper into the freezer.
Yes. Yes.
But like literally, like hoarding correlates to like stagnancy and like immobility, you know? And I just think about our experiences like traveling and moving countries and stuff like that. Like you can't hoard. Literally, you cannot, you know? So I think staying, I guess, mobile in an energetic sense, you know, kind of alleviates you of that, you know, of being weighed down in that way.
Yeah. Until you settle and create roots, and then you have to be mindful. And you're like, what the fuck is all this shit? And do I really need it? Get rid of it. Like that's I have a part of me that's very strong of like, I don't want extra shit, extra clutter. What do we really, really need? Like just fucking get rid of it. You know, what's that saying? Like if you haven't worn something in like fucking 3 years, like why is it in your closet?
You just never know. It might be a day where it's like I gotta wear the
I wear shit to the end, bro. Like I got some bed shirts like riddled with holes, bro. Like
no, I do too, but you're wearing it. I'm saying I know, all those things that like it's like you're holding on to. It's like your style has changed. You move to a new place. Like I don't know. It's funny. I feel like every year and a half I have to go through my closet and go, do I really need that? And sometimes there are times where I'm like, no, just let me just hold on to it with like a little bit longer. And then I go through the same process again and I have the same conversation with myself and I haven't worn it.
Yeah. So do you still have leather jackets in your cupboards?
No, I don't have any leather jackets now. I could have
just
some like
thinking of
button
them
down
box
shirts.
of wires.
I'm never going to wear that. I'm not wearing it.
Yeah.
A box of USB wires that don't work anymore. Like
Oh my God.
Oh, the wires is the whole other thing.
One day I'll need it. One day.
Yeah.
Hopefully before November 18th or you're fucked. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, everyone has that drawer that has all the fucking tangled wires up from like 10 years ago. My Nintendo system, you know, some like adapter from that. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to add something though. I was just thinking about the emotional body, right? Like I just want to throw this in there because the weather's ripe for this too. For people who might be struggling with that, like the somatic emotional intelligence, I don't really know what my intuition's telling me. I don't really know what this feeling means, but I don't like it, or why am I thinking these things? The weather is actually set up right now with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini to help us look into that space. And the angle that Mercury, so cognitive functioning is Mercury, it's how we think. Jupiter is our cosmological belief system, spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs, right? Philosophy on life. So when you got those two together, this is how we learn. Mercury thinking, philosophy, Jupiter. The angles they're making to each other right now with Mercury and Scorpio, Jupiter and Gemini retrograde, perfect for learning from inside.
Tell me about
what that emotion means, what that feeling means, why these thoughts keep coming up. Trust yourself because you can learn. The retrograde Jupiter is literally, I learn from within. I don't learn from without. And yes, you can, but it's turned in. So it's like when a retrograde Jupiter happens, it's usually, we got too much information from the outside world. And now we're soaked like a sponge with all this water. So we got to squeeze some of it out so that we can absorb, what is inherent to us as far as knowing goes. Jupiter also correlates to intuition, right? So sometimes we just know things. That's like a Jupiter thing. So I just wanted to throw that in there because it can be tempting with this setup to trust other people to know more than us. And I'm not saying that other people don't have value to contribute, but we might place their authority over ours, questioning ourselves. So I wanted to throw that out there because that is a thing right now.
Yeah.
Any real teacher guides you back to yourself.
100%.
Now guides you back to you being the ultimate authority of your life. Sure, you can offer guidance, advice, wisdom, but if that guidance, advice, and wisdom isn't guiding you back to, listen, you need to figure out who you are, what you need to work on, what you need to deal with, what decisions are right for you, and to learn through that process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Period.
it can never be at the cost of your own personal power, your own personal authority.
And your right to explore. Sorry, Joel.
Yeah, for sure.
Right to explore, right to make mistakes, right to learn.
Yeah, exactly. So with everything that's going on currently astrologically, how does this play into this election that we have coming up? How's the timing correlate?
I knew that question was coming.
What's happening?
Fucking hilarious, right? Because like on one hand, you're seeing more people who are disillusioned with the two-party paradigm. And yet at the same time, there's still this my team kind of thing going on, right? So that's not going to change in the next couple of weeks. That's still going to be a thing, So I'm not great with predictions, but I will say that, well, I do like to predict. I just don't do it publicly. Anyways.
Tell us. We'll edit this out. Tell us.
Well, no, we'll wait till after so that if I mess up, I don't have to say it out loud. So,
Okay, great.
Yeah. I'm going to shut up now. They get to the point. But anyway, around this time, like the way Lucifer and Mars are angling Pluto, like they're getting into this intense, contentious angle with Pluto. And it's just winding up more and more towards the election. So to me, this is like the most explosive combination to have. Well, it's not explosive in the sense there's no fire involved. It's yin energy, but it's not a great combo because when Mars and Pluto are involved and Lucifer's thrown in too, it takes a lot of emotional maturity to handle this. And so with the election, it's not a good combination. Though, as far as like, this is just the election and things happen, not to make a prediction as such, but I wouldn't be surprised if whatever the results are causes a real shitstorm.
Yeah.
Well, you think that's going to happen either way. You think
No, yeah. And I don't need to know astrology to even sense that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the thing. But it is set up in such a way because it's that my team energy that's in the sky right now, that if someone's team doesn't win, it might cause a real fucking problem in a way that could go on for a while. Just put it that way.
Get dumped and like shot after like their football team losing, in the parking lot. Like this is like on steroids.
Yeah, but the way things are set up energetically, like because Mars is in Cancer, right? So the way it's acting is going to be emotional, habitual. I'm just trying to think of what's appropriate to say out loud. Let's just say that there's nothing more dangerous than a feminized man. And when I say that, this is where it gets like in my mind fucky. That means regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, there's nothing more dangerous than a feminized man. So whoever can hear that's what this is. Like, it's
interesting.
It's not. It's a little bit insidious.
Are you dissing white dudes for Harris?
Is that a thing? Please tell me that's not a fucking thing.
No, it's a thing. It's like a whole thing. Like white dudes for Harris that like are simping for Harris.
Man, if I was going to simp for anyone, it would be for Harris. Yeah, I mean, it's that's its own can of worms. But I'm just like blown away at like the same 4-year process of just like the fanaticism and like the pattern that just keeps repeating itself. You know, I could just observe my social media feeds, and it's just like, it's so fascinating to observe from like a human behavior standpoint.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's fascinating, but it's like it seems as though there's like, as much as we want to detach from the system, it seems as though there are big real world consequences.
Oh yeah.
To it as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not like 100% purist where it's like, oh, nothing matters, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's part of life. It's there are consequences. You know, it shifts the trajectory of the collective of history.
Yeah.
It's so weird because it's like what's really at battle is just it's ideas, right? Mm-hmm. It's ideas. Is my idea going to win, or is this idea going to win? And whether those ideas are actually adhered to once someone is elected, and then also this is another question. Yeah, but
like,
yeah,
it was so funny seeing Eminem simp for Harris.
I haven't seen that.
Oh yeah, the Eminem.
I remember the Donald Trump diss track like last time 8 years ago or something.
No, Eminem, I don't know, he did a speech. I only saw like a short clip of it where he was just railing on like, she's the person who would honor our freedoms and everything. And like, and I'm just like, did you not see what happened in 2020? Like, you couldn't even like express a different viewpoint without being canceled, deleted off social media with big tech and their cronies, forced to fucking get a quote unquote forced, obviously, to get a medical procedure, a certain medical procedure in order to keep your job. Like, it was like hearing him talk was so funny. And then of course the comment section were hilarious because they're like, what did he party did he go to?
Yeah.
You know, what footage did they have on him to make him do that?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. It's funny because like, you know, you think like his trailer park audience to an extent would naturally lean him towards, you know, Trump a little bit.
Yeah. Potentially, you know, but then again, he's in Detroit. You know, most urban environments are you know, lean a certain way politically. Yeah, it's just it's just funny.
Yeah, that whole cycle thing, like even that showing up, like 2 points. So I just want to say that whole repetitive cycle thing. I mean, that's sort of this purgatory energy that is in the sky in a sense too, where it's like, when's that cycle gonna break? Like, is it gonna break? Like, what the fuck? But that Pluto and Capricorn at 29 degrees, like that's part of it, where it's like, I mean, yeah, okay, you guys want to live off grid, you can live off grid. That's cool. Like, people who do that, that's fine. But for a lot of people, we're not entirely ready to do something that extreme. And so it's like, okay, so how do we contribute to fostering life in this world?
Yeah.
Well, being part of society. That's really a question I think a lot more people are considering rather than going off grid at this stage. Notice how more people were into that prior to the COVID thing, right? Like
and also like it comes down to individual values. Like there are elements of that are great, you know, but like I was having this conversation with Sophie the other day. Like, we went and got a burger the other night, and then I went to got sushi the other night. Like, you live in the middle of fucking nowhere and off the grid, like, you know, there's certain things you have to like you choose from. You're not going to have certain conveniences or things that you like or want, you know. And I don't know. I like being in the world to a certain degree.
I value convenience. I value comfort. You know, especially like You're raising a family. Like we're more isolated. Alyssa's pregnant now. Like sometimes I just need to like get shit delivered. Get shit done. Make things easy. Make things so people can feel comfortable and go through their process without having to extend this psychic bandwidth in a million other places.
Those are the gifts of technology and convenience.
Dude.
You can go too much on one side, but like I don't know. There's things I really appreciate about pressing a button and it shows up at your place.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And each stage and phase calls for different levels of things as well.
That's the thing with like Pluto and Aquarius too, right? Like the tech's not going away.
Yeah,
I just listened to Elon's Q3 earnings call. Like I was listening to it before a thing, and just the stuff they're talking about, expecting robots to be walking among crowds and robo taxis driving people around. Like these are the part of the plans, right? Like, and he's rolling this out. He did a demo of his robo taxis like a week and a half ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So, we can avoid it, and we can, and like I just want to also acknowledge what you were saying, Yerasimos. Yes, for people who it works for living off grid, like I'm not trying to denigrate. I want people to do what they are called to. But I just want to say
it's very beautiful and idyllic at times. You see it, it's beautiful. I just personally like the choices and the options. Like we've planned something for ourselves here that feels a little bit more quote unquote off griddy, but it's not. And at the same time, like I like being connected to all different types of people and culture, and it's what I appreciate.
And different parts of you need to be fed in different ways, and you cultivate a life that can serve that.
Exactly.
And you get back to the individual. What do you want? What do you value? What do you want to create? Some people are like, fuck that shit. Fuck cities. Fuck, I don't need to go to have, Japanese food. Like I'm cool with just, eating food from my land. And that's great if you're into that.
Yeah. But like you have to like leave the nest in some capacity to figure out what you like and what you want and what works for you. Yeah. And that's been a big learning curve for me and my family since leaving Australia. It's like we've gone to a lot of different places and bounced around the pendulum in ways that we didn't like. But through that process, we're discovering what we do like and what we do want, Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of this too, right? Like, I mean, that's important to note is how much are we in our comfort zone to the detriment of our growth? And how much are we in our comfort zone to a point where that's necessary?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's okay to just chill and fucking play a video game or watch Netflix or order some food in and spend the night in with friends. It's okay if you even like whatever you like to do. You know what I mean? It's more about, are we creating life? Are we creating life with our actions, with our choices?
Yeah.
That's at least in my opinion. Yeah.
I've been reading this book recently called The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life by Boyd Vardy. He's a lion tracker, but there's this one quote: "Too much uncertainty is chaos, but too little is death."
It's the dance between opposites.
You gotta ride that edge.
The dance between opposites. Like
you need enough where it's like you're still stimulated to grow, but too much you can't operate. So you got to find that edge.
Yeah. Michael Tessarian said this a few weeks ago on one of his episodes. He was talking about the yin yang, right? And how we are, I hope I'm not misquoting him, but he was saying, as far as I recall, we are the S in the middle. So it's like we're not the some little drop of the white and the black and a little drop of black and the white. No, we are where they converge, where they meet, we're that middle point, and you can't effectively navigate that middle point without that friction that comes from the dark and the light intersect or coming to meet. You know what I mean? So that goes back to the whole dual nature. There's a part of us that's ravenous and hungry. There's a part of us that is beastly and instinctual and impulsive. And that part can't be ignored. It needs to be respected. It has value to contribute and a wisdom that is lost to most humans.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, listen, I had to go to a few Diddy freak-offs to realize what I really wanted in life, so.
Yeah, that's fair. At least a few. I mean, it takes a few, and then you realize, holy fuck, I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I don't want that.
Maybe not a few. I think even just, never mind.
Just one. Just a minute.
Yeah. When I see Ellen, never mind.
Yeah.
I'll stop.
Oh, man.
So who did I know Leo King has predicted some previous
Did you?
have you seen his current prediction? I haven't seen it. I
No,
don't know if you have.
I avoid most astrologers
Okay.
just to keep my own perspective clean. At least right now with Jupiter retrograde. and stuff
Okay,
like that.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped a prediction. I haven't watched it yet.
It's
Oh, I
also-
was gonna say.
It's also so interesting over the years. I have been exposed to different astrologers' writings where like they predict through their own bias. You know, like if you lean one way politically, you're like seeing the weather and like, oh my God, and Trump is this, and then but you know, Biden is this, and then you know what I mean? It's just very interesting to see.
It is very interesting to see.
Well, Dusty, the guy who trained me in astrology and divination, he hammered that into us from day one. You don't do your opinion. You do your best to keep cultivating clarity and centeredness, right? Like you're here to be a conduit for the information,
Yeah.
not to promote your fucking bias, you know?
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of practice and training, right?
Yeah,
It
even
starts
for me.
at home. You have to be able to dance between the opposites within in order to be able to look out in the world objectively and go, okay, red team, blue team, like what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, especially like for me, like sometimes in tarot readings, I have to check myself to like read the cards straight as opposed to I've got this person in front of me and, you know, I'm looking at something that doesn't seem so good, you know, and the part of me that doesn't want to deliver, you know, negative news, but it's like, you know, that's the big thing that also Michael, you know, imparted in Taroscopes was the cards, read the cards.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. That's actually a fun game. Maybe we could do it on the tarot night when we are playing. It's the one where we take our cards and we deliver bad news, no matter what the card is, right? We just try to see where we could find the bad news just to get comfortable with giving bad news. It's actually a game. And it can be kind of funny when you're like coming across really beautiful cards. It's like, yeah, but your neighbor's house is bigger. I'm just thinking of 10 of cups. You know? Just silly shit.
I've yet to venture into the tarot. Maybe one day.
Just the path of the full series on Unslaved is just, it's so much more than. Oh, did you?
Started watching.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But I think I watched the first one, but like, I got to just sit down and chip away because it could be overwhelming. You're like, there's like 20 something episodes. And I'm like,
it's so rich. So rich. It's so much more than just tarot, you know? It's like,
I
mean, typical when. With Michael, it's like, is it anytime just one thing, you know?
He goes into places that you never expect, and it's just like, wow, this is so necessary to know. I feel, at least when it comes to this tarot stuff. Yeah,
exactly. You know,
I want to give a shout out right now in this moment. I want to give a shout out to Michael Desarian. I know we do it often, but
much
love and respect to you and everything you've done over the last however many decades. The three of us here right now wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for you and David and what you guys created. So kudos to you and our listeners. By now, you know our origin story and how we met. It was because of Unslaved, and you know that platform has had an impact on me in multiple ways. And I'm just super grateful. So I wanted to throw that in there.
Well said, bro. I think you know, just like you mentioned, like, you know, your foundational psychological work with parts. Like for me, my foundational psychological really was that part of the full series, you know, because this is the study of the human psyche in so many ways, you know, and that's what kind of was the foundation for me to take the next steps in my life, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to bring it up before you were talking, but it's just like, it doesn't have to be one thing, but to understand the multiplicity. I mean, obviously, if you get into astrology, you're going to learn about different types and different archetypes. So whatever it is that can guide you towards understanding this, like this wealth and diversity of knowledge, of wisdom, of being human, like go for it. You know, your access point can be different. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I just read Carolyn Mrs., you know, understanding of archetypes, like
exactly
astrology.
Like you could study like internal family systems or voice dialogue and get an understanding of parts work, or you could study numerology, right? And realize how all the different archetypes and qualities of these numbers are playing out within my own being, within my own psyche.
I mean, during my process of getting to, you know, doing the work with, you know, voice dialogue, like, you know, I came across two books that had a huge impact on me by Jungian analysts, Gods in Every Man and Goddesses in Every Woman. And like that alone was like, oh, wow, like shit, my history, like these gods and goddesses represented something, you know, And how can I, as an individual, sure, I'm going to be maybe align more naturally with certain gods, but like, where am I lacking? Where can I integrate more elements so I can become more quote unquote whole and integrated? You know, where am I weak? Where am I strong? How can I bring more balance? And so having these reference points support you on your path.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about astrology, actually, the asteroids specifically, because there's so many mythological beings that are named in the asteroids too. And depending on the proximity or the angles that they make to different planets archetypes within you, you can see the relationship between that archetype and yourself and how you're helping to evolve that archetype. So it's not just this static thing. It's dynamic. It's changing, and we get to contribute to how it changes. So, I wanted to add too. Sorry, Yerasimos, I just want to say this real quick. Just because you guys are talking about the hero's journey and stuff like that in your path and how you've learned along the way, that's a big piece of what's showing up in the weather right now too. That it's not always like the movies, the hero's journey. Your hero's journey is going to be like nothing that's ever been written for so many people, right? So to discover that requires you to take risks on your, like a chance on yourself. So yeah, anyway, sorry, Yerasimos, I just wanted to throw that one in there.
No, not at all. You know, and it's like, you know, even just the three of us, you know, we could look at our astrology, we could look at our human designs. Obviously, we have certain things that are more natural to us. And yet the cool thing about being in community, being in a relationship is like, how can we learn from one another as well? Like, hey, I'm strong here. You're stronger there. Like, oh, wow. Like maybe I could integrate a homeopathic dose of certain elements of Yerasimos into my life that are going to add value to my life. I could integrate, you know, a little homeopathic dose of Sarah in certain situations that's going to guide me in other situations. And for Joel as well, you know, and I think this is the cool part about like observing others and seeing where our triggers lie as well, to see, okay, well, what medicine do I need? And like very often, you know, the people in our lives have that medicine for us if we're just willing to look and pay attention and self-reflect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we're all like, just think of it this way too. We all have these archetypes in us no matter what, right? But we're all shining it, like projecting it, reflecting it from different angles. So we have an angle that we might get a lot of wisdom from, but having you reflect that same archetype from your angle, it's like adding colors and textures and dimension to a tapestry that wouldn't have existed without your angle, right? So it's like the people we come across in life is no accident, whether we like them or not, whether they've done something terrible to us or supported us endlessly. Like everyone has something to contribute to our clarity.
Yeah. And even if it's not necessarily perceiving directly the quality in them that I need to integrate, it can be like, what do my loved ones, what kind of quality or energy do they require from me? You know? And it's taken me a long time to learn what the three ladies in my life really kind of need from me, you know, to feel secure, to feel stable, to feel, you know, but that quality within me was able to be birthed through repeatedly, you know, kind of having to figure that out and getting it wrong a number of times as well.
Yeah, I mean, mistakes are someone was quoting Bob Ross the other day, so I'm just going to quote Bob Ross too. But it's like, there's no such thing as mistakes, just happy accidents. And I know it's not always happy, but yeah, something like that. It was like happy accidents.
This little happy little tree.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing.
So cool.
Even with my husband, I mean, me and him, like we got Mercury squares. So like everything we say, it's like we have learned that it helps so much to just say, this is what I'm hearing. Is that what you're actually saying? Right? Like just to confirm, because we could just completely misunderstand each other without that. And it's helped so much in being able to connect, you know, but that came from a lot of arguing and a lot of fights.
Oh yeah. I can relate to that. Like you can't try to understand each other through your assumptions, you know?
Exactly. Oh God, no, that did not work. That wasn't working for us. No way.
Yeah.
We needed to learn how to listen. And that helped, like, especially for me being somebody who has a lot of, we'll say evolutionary imperative to learn how to listen. To really hear, you know, like not just what someone's saying, but to read between the lines and go deep into the truth of them. I mean, my relationship with my husband has given me the most evolutionary progress there, but it had to come from like fireworks in the beginning that weren't pleasant for either of us.
No. Yeah. When you guys get to my level, you'll be telepathic. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
you'll get
Eventually.
people to like really understand where they're at just by tuning into their psyches directly, and send information to them. So, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. I mean, well, this is why I pray to my Yerasimos effigy nightly, so that in the hopes that can happen for me too one day. I want that.
It will. Just keep praying.
Thank you. Thank you. I will.
Yeah.
I will.
I have a new effigy that I'm creating right now and I'm manufacturing. And so I'll send that over to you. And I think it might help you get there faster.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you, Yerasimos.
Yeah. Here for the truth.com/merch.
And bird quite
Yes. Sorry.
You let it run. Get Joel and Yerasimos bobblehead dolls that.
No, like those 7-day candles, the 7-day candles, the ones that people burn with prayer to
That's
do
funny.
prayers.
That's actually a good thing. We never talk about it. We do have some merch, if you want to buy a mug, like we created some merch, we have a bunch of other things in there. We have some hats, go on there, support us.
Yeah, and if there is a demand for Yerasimos effigy, just send us an email and we'll get to it.
I don't know if they're ready. Is there any?
I really hope that happens.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I'd like the Yerasimos effigy. I guess we'll have the 24 karat solid gold one for $33,000.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's just so funny. $33,333.
$3,333.
Yeah.
The Joel effigy is $666.
Oh shit. Apt.
That's sense.
That's just 33 doubled or 33.
It's true.
That's more.
Fuck. Whoa. You just opened me up to a whole new thing. Maybe we've been looking at Satan and 666 the wrong way.
Oh, interesting. Well,
Of course, the 6 energy's been inverted though.
Yeah. I mean, most.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't 6 connect to community and family and stuff like that too?
Yeah.
6 has to do with karma too.
Communication, connection, social.
Mm.
Yeah. I fucking love hanging out with the two of you and having a conversation. Hopefully people who are listening to this are getting some value out of this. And taking in whatever's coming out of our mouths and applying it into your life. I don't know. But feel free to send us emails. We love getting emails from our listeners and let us know what you think about the episodes and say hello.
So what's on the horizon for you, Sarah?
Well, I'm going to be on Unslaved in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
Talk
awesome.
about Chiron.
Nice.
Amazing.
Dude, that's
So-
crazy. I literally had the thought before. I wonder if Sarah's going back on Enslaved soon. That's so weird. Cool.
Yeah. So we're going to focus on Chiron with that episode. So that will be a really great one because it's a prevalent energy in the sky right now. And it's an integral, it's a very important bridge between the unconscious and the physical self. But it's this wounding that's in between there that a lot of people may avoid or try to overcompensate for. And yet there's this wisdom in there that can help us bring more of our individuated self into the physical world with wisdom, right? So we're going to be going into that, specifically the retrograde motion of Chiron. So we'll go through that in the signs and houses and then in the weather. Other than that, I'm pretty busy with work and I'm open to people who, well, if you're walking your path and you need an oracle to help guide you on your way, that's my work. That's what I do. I do not tell people who to be. The best, to me, it's the most important thing for me is to more, as Yerasimos was saying earlier in the show, it's more about guiding you to yourself and your own power. That is one of the most important tenets to my work and my mission. So I'm there for those who are on the path who just need help seeing where things are going and why they're where they're at. That's what I do.
Amazing.
Yeah. If the Yerasimos effigy fails, then talk to Sarah.
That's right. That's right. You always go for the highest authority first. So go for the effigy.
Yeah.
But if you still need help, I'm here.
Yeah. Also, too, I know we don't talk about it often, but Sarah's been on our Friends of the Truth community for a while. She's led a whole year of astrology calls that are in the archives that haven't been hacked, and she's going to start, I think, some tarot calls. But yeah, Friends of the Truth. We got so many calls. We got an amazing community.
Yeah. Yeah, we're switching it up to we're switching up Sarah's calls to tarot games starting in November.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what that might entail?
Oh, sure. Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Yeah, tarot games. It's a great way to study tarot to take the pressure out of the process. And so, yes, there's value to be had in formal study of things like this, but I found it very effective for me and other people that I know and people I've taught to use Dusty White's method, which includes and incorporates what he calls tarot games. And so what we do is we just play card games with tarot, but we add our own little bent into it where we use our imaginations to pull out information from the cards. And it's a lot of fun to play with other people. It helps us to learn because we're seeing other people's perspectives on what could show up in the cards. It helps to expand our lexicon of how to interpret cards. And you don't have to be an expert at tarot at all, like not at all, because it's all about what are you seeing in the picture. You don't need to know the symbolism. That can help if you want to add dimension, if you're a pro and you really want to like OP, overpower, like just win all the games. But it's more about imagination, enthusiasm, and a willingness to just trust yourself and have fun. So that's what we're doing. It's Rider-Waite decks only. So because I've found in the past when I've done this with other people, they bring in their other decks and the art is different in the deck. And then it just makes explaining what you see it ends up being the whole call where it's like, examining this other tarot deck. So we're just going to go with Rider-Waite, the OG Rider-Waite. Any derivatives of that, like the Radiant Rider-Waite or the, there's like a whole bunch of them. But basically the ones that keep the original symbolism as intact as possible, the original art is intact. And yeah, that's basically it. We'll have them every month instead of the astrology calls going forward for now and see where it goes. But if you want to work on your intuition, this is like the most pressure-free yet still effective way to do it.
For sure. Yeah. I'm excited. I love card games. I love tarot. So you want to rock up to some of these calls, Yerasimos?
I think so. I don't know. I mean, I've always wanted to come to the calls with just like scheduling things I need to do.
Get yourself a deck,
but I think so. I'm going to be more. I do. I have that.
You have a Rider-Waite deck. Oh, nice.
I've had one for like a couple of years.
Oh, cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just haven't delved into it.
Sweet. No, I'm excited.
I'd like to, though.
That'll be fun for sure.
Well, we'll be figuring out our the dates probably this week for November for all our calls. But yeah, check out friendsofthetruth.co.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here.
We'll have Sarah's website too in the show notes and everything, so you can reach out to her.
adeptofguidance.com. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And yeah, Scorpio out now and available everywhere. Check it out, stream it, share it, and send me an email as well. I'll drop my personal email in the brief on this one. If you're digging it, let me know. And all the best. Take care.
Smoking mirrors, I'm seeing through the illusion. Waking up in a time they think you're in a delusion. Somebody set the alarms, cause they be too busy snoozing. I'm in a DeLorean, fast forward in evolution.